Hello, everyone. This is Magdalena Grace here, excited to be talking about Ayurvedic Nutrition 101 today. So, for those of you who are inside of my Healthy and Wealthy Mind subscription, this is actually the first in a long time of nutrition classes. Just as a general reminder, part of the foundation of the Healthy and Wealthy and Wise subscription comes from my background of 17 plus years in the health and fitness community, mental health, physical health. So body, mind, really working with the gut brain, which is in your body, connecting the head brain, because your gut brain, which is impacted by so many things. We've talked a lot about trauma, inner child healing. We've talked a lot about plant medicine and what that does for the gut brain. However, there's this one thing that's probably the most impactful every day, and that is food and drink. Food is truly our medicine, and what we put in our body or don't put in our body can make a huge, huge, huge difference. As I've been on this journey of healing myself for the past 2.5 years, I was reminded of that. I was drinking way too much alcohol, eating way too much takeout delivery food during the pandemic. Who here might have done that, right? So I got away from it. And even before then, I had started gaining weight, was eating on the run, had found myself having food late at night. I had started to embody and choose unconsciously and consciously to completely radically alter my diet. And little did I know that that was not helping me. It was hurting me in so many ways. It impacted my sleep. It impacted my mood. It, of course, impacted my waistline, which then impacted my outer world. For as within, so without. And there's that saying, you are what you eat. However, it's also how you eat. How do you consume? Do you consume mindfully? Do you also consume right for you? I was in the health and fitness industry, like I said, for 17 years. I coached over 10,000 people in just health and fitness alone, not counting my business coaching years. And what I discovered, and full transparency, the reason I left the industry, I was so tired of the keto this diet, the Atkins that diet, people even fasting and not really understanding why they're fasting, doing juice cleanses and not really understanding why they're doing juice cleanses. They're just doing it because the society or the trend or the fad of the day was there, or a friend did it and it worked for them. So therefore, I'm just going to do it, using yourself as a guinea pig and really not having guidance, really not knowing thyself. So I've started studying as part of my continued education into the nutrition and health arena as to how to come back to the fundamentals, how to support my clients, whether it's microdosing or plant medicine. That's one element of my focus. Now I'm bringing it back to mind, body, spirit in the 5 fundamentals in the subscription. Again, it's meditation classes, which we have every week. You'll notice every week there's a reason for that. That's number 1 on the list of how to manifest your best health, your best wealth, and really connecting with that best wisdom, being thoughtful and reflective, mindful with meditation. Breath work, that's definitely a physiological thing, helping release trauma, which can then help you choose better food, nutrition, being a part of it, as well as the inner child healing, and all of the beautiful things with the yoga component. So you see there's such a rich, vast offering inside of the subscription. And today I wanted to do basics, nutrition 101. I'm not going to talk about what to eat. Today, it's more about how to eat and how to look at food and meal times, especially differently. I found myself, even before the pandemic, rushing through meals, grabbing stuff to go. Even if it was a healthy salad, I'd be eating it while driving. I'd be eating it on the run, or I'd be eating while pacing the floor or making phone calls, or you know what I mean? And so I relearned, recognized, remembered this past year to really slow down in life, but also in the nutrition piece. And especially if you're working with childhood trauma, especially if you are working with plant medicine, you've got to nourish yourself. It's actually kind of cool. The superfood nutrition that I recommend for my clients now in the cellular detox is actually, the company's called Nourish. And even that name helped me to remember how food is our medicine. Food is one of many things. It's one of our basic needs. Like if you don't eat after 3 to 4 days, you die, right? Depending on the person, of course. So hydration, even more important. Are you even drinking enough water? What kind of liquids are you consuming? Are you drinking more coffee than water? All of those things are really, really important. So this is one of many nutrition classes, and even accountability. If you show up to my live classes, you can ask questions. That's my hope. If you are a subscriber, a paid subscriber of the Healthy and Wealthy and Wise movement, you'll get access to me inside of these live classes. And if you're not a paid subscriber yet, because I did share this with a few people who are not, feel free to reach out. If you're struggling with nutrition, if you have a lot of stress, if you're eating on the go, if your waistline is continuing to grow, if your sleep is not well, a lot of it is due to lack of just simple things like hydration and proper fuel. And one of the things I'll just say really quickly, and then I'm going to go into the tips of the day, the fundamental tips of Ayurvedic Nutrition 101, is that you were born actually with a constitution. You're born from your ancestors. You know that I'm passionate about ancestral awareness and healing. You were born into a family in a certain climate at a certain time of day and month and year, where you are predisposed to have different elements inside of you that are your makeup. So as the seasons of the year change, winter, spring, summer, and fall, your body changes with it. You might notice loose stools or constipation, or you might notice your skin drying out. You might notice a lot of different things physically as the seasons change. And it's all connected to the elements that are inside of you. So what do I mean by that? Earth, air, fire, water, and ether. Earth, air, fire, water, and ether. You are made up of all of these elements, and yet you and I, we were born with a higher percentage of one of these elements. So for me, my highest constitution name is called Pitta. And Pitta people, especially those of us who are redheaded, tend to be more fiery. We have more fire in our body as a natural thing, which is really important to know, right? If you tend towards anger or whatever, then you have the more watery people. Then you have the more earthy people. I'm not going to go over that today. Today, I just wanted to keep it very simple. And inside of my subscription, I'm going to be bringing more of this conversation in to get you to be more mindful. And in the not too distant future, probably this fall, when the season changes into fall, I'm actually going to be helping guide you through some weight loss and preparation for those seasonal changes. Again, if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, it'll be heading into spring because you're in winter now. So I know I'm talking to some different audiences here, clients all over the world. And so I just wanted to remind you that You are what you eat, but you're also got to find out more about knowing yourself. Knowing what works for you is a journey. Even myself, I'm learning new stuff all the time about how to nourish myself better, how to come back into balance in my body. Because what works for Magdalena Grace may not work for you. What works for you may not work for me, may not work for your son, may not work for your husband, may not work for your sister. Even within your own family genetics. I just got my ancestry DNA done recently and was reminded that ultimately within that, there is so much uniqueness in the overall picture of me versus my siblings. They could have a completely different percentage and makeup, similar, but different. So it's a journey of testing, course correcting, and usually it's a journey that can't be done alone. So I hope you find a guide, a teacher. I'd be honored to be that for you if you're also interested in microdosing or plant medicine, because that's my specialty. Really quick on that, if you're in the plant medicine space and you're microdosing, either or both, that nutrition huge impacts the experience you're going to have with plant medicine. And again, I use plant medicine in a sacred way. It's part of my mind, body, spirit protocol. So the mind, maybe you're meditating. Body, how are you nourishing yourself and moving your body? Spirit, that's the plant medicine piece to help you quiet the mind, go within your heart, get into your body, and better understand how to honor this temple that you as a soul came into and chose to be in this body. So that was a real quick precursor. I want to go over some really quick best tips. So you're going to want to take notes on this. And I'll even recommend this book to you. It's 100 seasonal recipes, what to eat for how you feel. What to eat for how you feel, the new Ayurvedic kitchen. And I picked it up this year as part of my study. And so here's some quick tips. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 12 tips. Okay. 12 tips on how to be, how to eat, how to drink, how to nourish yourself properly. And this is for every body. This is not just for Pitta, Kapha, Vata people. This is not, whether you subscribe to a diet, that's your personal journey. I always honor where people are at. I'm more of a lifestyle consumer and eating by the seasons and eating for your type, eating where you are in this part of your journey. If you're doing a plant medicine path, there's different ways to navigate that during different times of your path, right? So tip number 1, eat in a settled, harmonious environment, free of distractions. Big one, right? Eat in a settled, harmonious environment, free of distractions. Because here's what happens if you don't. If you remember, if you've ever heard this phrase, you've got to rest to digest, allow the food to digest, as well as emotions. But anyway, if you eat with noise, if you eat too many people around or too much movement, or while watching TV, it all impacts the brain-stomach communication. Eating while driving, that was something I did a lot. And that was all part of my weight gain as well. If you're also reading, that can also interrupt the stomach-brain connection. And I like to call it the gut brain with the head brain, right? So even being able to have that, when you're full. If you're busy, distracted, you're not going to know when you're full. You may overeat easily. And of course, you may not digest properly. which is a huge reason why I had leaky gut back in the day. Leaky gut syndrome is many reasons I had it: candida overgrowth, stress, right? But eating on the run, eating fast food, eating fast in general, even if you're eating healthy, was no bueno. So that's tip number one. Tip number two, supporting tip number one, is eating in a peaceful state of mind. If you're eating from an emotional state, emotional eating, emotional drinking, if you're eating when you're angry, upset, or sad, just in general, I just listed some emotions there, you're going to feed those negative emotions. Same thing with drinking. If you're drinking alcohol or sugar, right? I did that a lot as a kid, which was a precursor to my addiction to coffee and alcohol and all of that, right? Because my brain was like, oh, this is what we do when we're stressed, angry, or sad. We feed those dopamine receptors, right? Or numb it. So you want to eat as best you can in a peaceful state of mind. Tip number three, eat in a seated position, not walking or pacing the floor. Seated position, again, not driving. Because when you stand or walk, or even when you're driving, your energy is concentrated on your feet. Because when you're driving, you're using the foot pedals. So you're focusing on the feet to support you, and it weakens your digestive strength. It weakens your digestive strength. And again, our digestion, I won't go into this much today, but our digestion is our number one friend, ally, or enemy. And I had digestive issues for decades, so I know this all too well. Now, the plant medicine helped really heal my digestive issues with the trauma and the emotional releases and the grief recovery, etc. However, if I would have kept eating the way I was eating, no bueno. Number four, eat only when you are hungry. Now, this is a little slippery slope because some people will say, well, I'm not hungry. And it's because they're stressed or they're emotionally traumatized or whatever. Again, whole nother conversation. But eating, even I like to say, just before you know you will get hungry. That's where the structure of eating consistently, even if you're intermittent fasting, be consistent about that intermittent fasting. But eat only when you're hungry. So a lack of hunger means your digestive fire is slumbering and won't break down the food properly, thus potentially leading to fatigue, toxin buildup. And again, that's where you become overweight if you're not hungry. You're just eating for the sake of eating. Number five, at a moderate pace, neither too fast nor too slow, with thoughtful, mindful chewing. So again, I'm going to repeat that. Eat at a moderate pace, neither too fast nor too slow, with thoughtful chewing. If you devour unchewed or partially chewed food, it puts extra pressure on the stomach, and that's not good. So really making sure you chew mindfully and thoroughly. Not too fast, not too slow. Number six, at an interval of 2 to 4 hours after a light meal, 4 to 6 hours after a full meal. This lets one meal be completely digested before the next. So I do know back in my fitness days, I would kind of graze and I would eat every 2 to 3 hours, but I would eat lighter. Now, as a mom and with career and stuff, I usually eat a little bit of a bigger breakfast, lighter lunch, and a medium dinner, and it's usually within that 3 to 4 to 5 hours. So it also depends on how much you're eating, how much you're consuming. Because if you binge eat and have heavy snacks between meals, then you don't fully digest. And that's where weight gain and digestive issues in general, fatigue, etc., can come into play and build up that toxicity in your stomach and digestive tract. Makes them have to work harder. Next one, allow at least 2 to 3 hours between dinner and going to bed. So making sure that you have a good 2 to 3 hours before going to sleep. And so for some of you, that could be really hard. Maybe you like to snack before bed, but going to bed right after eating is a recipe of toxicity and weight gain. It's also the number one cause for sleep interruption, insomnia, and then of course, waking up sluggish. I have been known to go to bed feeling hungry because I did not want to add any toxicity and just drank extra water. And the next morning I actually felt fantastic. So just remember 2 to 3 hours between dinner and going to bed. Next one, eat without drinking a lot of water or beverage. Drink water no less than 30 minutes before a meal. So you're just focusing on the food when you're eating your meals, and 60 to 90 minutes after. Now, this is pretty specific, so don't stress. This isn't meant to be adding stress to your life. However, awareness is the first step. So stop drinking much. You could have sips during the meal, but if you can stop drinking 30 minutes before and then only start an hour after, it allows the food to go through the digestive process. Okay. So I would say drink a large glass of water before, during, or right after a meal, or, drink the 30 minutes to 60, 90 minutes after. And then the counterpart of that, what happens when you don't, is what I meant to say. Drinking a large glass of water right before, during, or after, it just suppresses your digestive fire, and you need that digestive fire to digest. You need that digestive fire to digest. Next tip, we got 4 left and then I'm done. Eat only 2/3 to 3/4 of your capacity. A first burp is an indication to stop. So, and I remember one of my friends in India, he even put a percentage at it. He said, eat till you're 80% full. Don't eat till you're full. I remember as a kid, I always ate, overate. And I got away with it in theory, but it was a habit that my brain got used to. And it wasn't good for my digestion. So it just made my digestive issues that I essentially was born with, made it worse. So eat to 80% of your capacity. Essentially, if you don't feel full, that's a good sign. Gives you your digestive tract the ability to fully digest. So it's not working overtime. Overeating leaves no room for the food in the stomach to move and break down, and thus became one of the main causes of illness for me. I have an autoimmune disease that was diagnosed, which started in the gut. I don't have an exact percentage, but personally, in my experience, in my studies, and what my naturopath told me, all autoimmune diseases start in the gut. So this is why this is so important. Next one, eat at regular times. Our bodies do crave structure. I know some people hate that word, especially if you know the constitutions, the kapha people. It's really important to eat at regular times. Consistency is key. Eating at different times every day will negatively impact your body rhythms, Your biorhythms are so important for you to be able to have consistent bowel movements, as well as just consistent energy, and predictability. The body does like that. Not in a controlling way. If you eat breakfast every day between 8 and 9, perfect. Lunch between 12 and 1, perfect. It doesn't have to be exact. It also helps you prevent overeating or that starvation mode. And then it also helps your body regulate for sleep and all of that good stuff. Next one, eat with gratitude for the food you receive and praise for the cook. This is something I'm practicing more. Eat for gratitude for the food you receive and for the cook, even for the farmers, even for the store, wherever the farmer's market that you bought it from. Eat with gratitude. Embodying that gratitude helps the food, I think, receive love as it goes inside of you, which who couldn't benefit from more of that, right? Eating without respect for the food or for those who prepared it sets up negativity and disconnection from nature and others, which we already are so disconnected from nature and others. So this is a great practice because you eat, depending on the person, 3 times a day. So it's 3 times a day where you express gratitude, and a gratitude practice is so key for your heart and your head to connect. And last, remain seated for a few minutes after completing your meal. Remain seated for a few minutes after completing your meal. Rushing through a meal and jumping up from the table will feed your stressors more than your body. And we already have so much stress, so much cortisol. I recently had my blood work done, checking on my thyroid and hormones and stuff. And my cortisol levels had dropped for two reasons. Number one, meditation and everything I just shared with you. Slowing down, creating more space in my life, and creating more space for my meals before, during, and after. This goes for enjoying the cooking process, cooking more for yourself, even if that means just one more per week. It's where I started. So if I can be of service, let me know. If you aren't already inside my subscription and you found value in this, please join me inside of my subscription. Shoot me an email, lois@loiscoffee.com. As of this time of this recording, I haven't changed my email address. I have changed my name to Misty Magdalena Grace. However, just really wanting to impress upon you the importance of nutrition, especially right now. It's summer in the Northern Hemisphere. So what better time to practice all of this? The days are longer, have a little more energy, get some more leafy green vegetables and fruits inside of you. And that's my hope, no matter what the season is, that you can practice. So I hope this is beneficial. Until next time, here's to your best health, your best wealth, and your best wisdom. Bye-bye for now.